In the endless black of space, silence ruled everything. Stars drifted like cold diamonds, uncaring and eternal. But that silence was about to break. Something new was moving through the void, something made by human hands. For years, the galaxy had watched Earth with amusement. To the old alien empires, humanity was still young, still reckless. They called them survivors, not soldiers. Dreamers, not builders. The humans had no ancient fleets, no great empires stretching across the stars. They were small, fragile, and new to the galactic stage. But deep under the oceans of Earth, beneath the waves and secrecy, the humans had been building. They built in silence. They built in fear. And what they built would soon shake the stars. Far beyond Earth, in the shining halls of the Galactic Council, alien leaders gathered. The chambers were filled with shimmering lights and hundreds of voices. Reports came in, strange readings, massive energy signatures near Earth's orbit. At first they thought it was a malfunction. Then the data grew clearer. A single object was leaving the planet's surface. Not a fleet, not a formation, just one vessel. But it was massive. Its power readings were higher than anything the Council had ever seen. The meeting fell quiet. Even the eldest races, the ones who had seen wars older than humanity itself, sat in silence. Something cold moved through their hearts. One voice finally spoke. The humans. What have they done? The scanners showed the scale. Thousands of meters long, layered in dark metal, wrapped in shifting energy fields. It moved like a shadow with a heartbeat. Every probe that tried to get close was burned to ash. Rumors spread faster than light. Some said it was a colony ship. Others whispered a darker word. Weapon. The Galactic Council demanded answers from Earth. But no answer came. Only static. Only silence. For 3 days the great empires waited. And then on the 4th day, the stars around Earth began to glow. The object, the ship, now moved. Slowly, gracefully, it rose above the blue planet. Its hull absorbed sunlight, vanishing into the black. There were no markings, no colors, no insignia. Just a shape, vast, dark, and alive. Sensors tried to scan it, but the readings came back empty. It was as if the ship refused to exist. Then a single transmission echoed across the galaxy. This is the United Nations ship Leviathan. We come in peace unless you don't. Just 15 words, but they were enough to freeze every world that heard them. In the command halls of the Xylar Dominion, the warlords trembled. In the cold nebulous cities of the Tarak Empire, fleets halted mid-flight. Even the arrogant Krith Imperium, who ruled over 12 systems with an iron hand, fell silent. The humans had a battleship. Not just any battleship. Their first across the galaxy. Analysts worked night and day to understand it. Its mass was more than any dreadnought on record. Its energy core burned brighter than a small sun. And its weapons, an unknown, invisible, unreadable. The Leviathan was a riddle wrapped in fear. For the first time in history, the alien races felt something they had never associated with Earth. Terror. The Council held an emergency session. Some argued to send a fleet to show dominance. Others warned that provoking humans might start a war no one could win. Old empires that had once enslaved entire species now spoke with shaking voices. And out there in the void, the Leviathan kept moving. Slow, calm, unstoppable. Every system it passed went silent. Civilian ships rerouted their paths, unwilling to cross its shadow. Merchant networks shut down communication channels, pretending not to notice. No one wanted to draw its attention. The few probes that tried to approach the ship vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone, as if erased from existence. Inside the ship, humanity watched in silence too. From its dark command bridge, officers monitored every frequency, every movement. No one spoke loudly. They didn't need to. The entire crew understood the mission. The Leviathan wasn't built for conquest. It was built for survival, for deterrence, for peace, the kind of peace only strength can buy. For generations, humans had fought each other, on land, sea, and sky. Now they had built something that ended that era forever, a weapon so powerful that no one, alien or human, would dare start another war. The ship's captain stood in silence, looking at Earth shrinking behind them. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply whispered, "Let them see." Out there, the stars were watching. On the distant world of Zir, an old historian spoke to his students. He had studied every great empire, every war, every weapon, but now he closed his ancient scrolls and said, "Something has changed. The humans have stepped beyond fear." And in that moment, every species understood the galaxy would never be the same. For centuries, the stars had belonged to the old races, but now, a new power had risen from the blue planet at the edge of the spiral arm. The silence of space had been broken. The storm was coming. The Leviathan drifted onward, quiet, unstoppable, and alive. Its engines left no flame, only a shimmering distortion in the dark. No music, no sound, no war cry, only presence. Every sensor that detected it recorded a strange anomaly. The readings weren't normal. They weren't physical. It was as if the ship itself carried a weight, not just of metal, but of purpose. And as the ship disappeared into the endless black, one truth remained clear across the galaxy. The humans were no longer the small ones. No longer the desperate survivors. No longer the underdogs. They were something else now. Something the galaxy hadn't seen before. Builders of monsters, creators of balance. And for the first time in known history, the predators had arrived. The Leviathan continued its silent path between the stars, unseen but felt by all. Every empire waited. Every ruler prayed. Every soldier whispered the same name in fear. Leviathan. It had come from a small blue planet. It had risen from a people once ignored. And now it carried the weight of an entire species. Humanity had spoken. Not with words, not with war, but with creation. The galaxy trembled, because the silence was over. Across the stars, panic was spreading like fire in dry grass. The message from Earth, 15 words, had echoed through every system, through every network, through every trembling empire. "This is the United Nations ship Leviathan. We come in peace unless you don't." The words were calm, but behind that calm, every mind felt the power of a warning. It was not a shout, not a threat. It was the quiet voice of a species that had survived everything thrown at it, and had decided never to bow again. In the halls of the Galactic Council, the air was heavy. Dozens of alien species sat in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on the central hologram. The image of the Leviathan hovered above the chamber, a long, dark ship that looked more like a shadow than metal. Its size was unmatched. Its shape was terrifying. And yet, the humans had said they wanted peace. The council speaker, an ancient being whose kind had ruled the stars for 6,000 years, finally spoke. "What does it mean?" His voice trembled slightly. No one answered. The scientists from the Krith Empire stepped forward. Their faces were pale, their scales glistening with fear. "We tried to scan it," one said quietly. "But it hides itself. Even quantum sensors return empty data. It is as if the ship bends reality around it. The chamber filled with whispers bends reality, invisible weapons, impossible power, and somewhere deep within the Leviathan, humanity watched them all. Inside the ship, the lights were dim. The corridors were vast, filled with the soft hum of hidden engines. Every step echoed through metal that could survive the heart of a star. In the control center, men and women stared at holographic displays showing hundreds of alien fleets, all pointed toward them. The captain stood silent. His uniform was dark gray, his face calm. He didn't look like a conqueror. He looked like a man who had seen too much war. In front of him, the Earth hung in space, small, beautiful, fragile. He whispered almost to himself, "They wanted us weak. They called us primitive. Now they will listen." The Leviathan's crew was handpicked. The best minds of every nation on Earth had come together. Engineers, pilots, scientists, tacticians, all working under one flag for the first time in history. For centuries, humans had fought each other. But when the alien threat came, something changed. The nations of Earth united, not because they loved peace, but because they feared extinction. And out of that fear, they forged the Leviathan. It was not a ship of pride. It was a weapon of survival. Every bolt, every circuit, every plate of armor was built with one promise, that humanity would never kneel again. Back in the council chamber, panic turned into arguments. Some demanded to attack immediately, to destroy the Leviathan before it could act. Others warned that any strike could mean their end. "We don't know its limits," shouted the ambassador of the Valari Union. "We don't even know what powers it." The Krith Empire's admiral hissed, "Then we find out. We test it." And so in the dark edges of space a decision was made, one day without approval, without warning. A fleet of 10 warships broke formation. They were fast, armed, and proud. Their mission, to approach the Leviathan and force it to reveal its power. The fleet commander smiled. His people had ruled a dozen worlds. He believed the humans were bluffing, but as they neared the Leviathan, his smile vanished. The human ship didn't move. It didn't aim. It simply existed, silent, cold, patient. The alien ship circled like wolves around a sleeping giant. Then one of them fired a plasma lance, a single warning shot across the Leviathan's bow. The energy hit. For a moment, the void lit up with blue light. And then, nothing, no damage, no response, no sound. The commander frowned. Increase power. Fire again. The next shot was 3 times stronger. This time the energy vanished mid-flight as if swallowed by the dark. And then the Leviathan moved. It turned, slowly, smoothly, and faced the fleet. Sensors on every alien ship screamed warnings. Their systems began to shut down one by one. Engines froze. Weapons failed. Something unseen was crawling through their systems, tearing through their control cores like invisible lightning. And then came the light. From the Leviathan's center, a beam of pure white energy spread out in silence. It was not loud. It was not fast. It was simply final. One by one, the alien ships disintegrated, melted, atomized, erased. Not even debris was left behind. The attack had lasted 7 seconds. And then, the Leviathan went still again. Back in the Galactic Council, reports arrived seconds later. The room fell into horror. 10 warships and gone. No survivors, no signal. Only radiation echoes and silence. The speaker tried to calm them, but his voice failed. The humans warned us, someone whispered. They said peace, unless we don't. The Leviathan didn't chase anyone. It didn't move toward alien worlds. It simply resumed its course, gliding quietly through the void. But the message had already spread to every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had built something unstoppable. And they didn't need an army. They only needed one ship. In the darkness of his war room, the Krith Emperor clenched his claws. His empire had survived for thousands of years, crushing every enemy that dared challenge them. But now for the first time he felt fear. He looked at the hologram of the Leviathan and whispered, "If this is their first battleship, what will the next one be?" Meanwhile on Earth the world watched too. Billions of humans followed every transmission, every signal. Children looked up at the night sky, knowing that their kind had finally reached the stars, not as explorers, but as equals. The Leviathan became a symbol, a promise, a warning. And across the stars, entire empires changed their plans. Armies stopped their wars. Borders froze in place. The galaxy held its breath, because somewhere out there, humanity was watching, through the eyes of a ship that could destroy worlds and still whisper of peace. The Leviathan's engines glowed softly as it moved through the dark. Inside, the crew worked in silence, surrounded by the hum of endless power. Their mission was simple: to watch, to protect, to remind the galaxy that Earth was no longer prey. In the vast emptiness of space, a message pulsed once more, faint, calm, and eternal. This is the United Nations ship Leviathan. We come in peace unless you don't. The galaxy had heard it once. Now it would never forget. The stars shivered, and the humans kept watching. Space is silent, but in that silence a storm was waiting to be born. The Leviathan drifted through the void, dark and calm, its surface glowing faintly with blue light. Its engines burned without sound, bending gravity and light around it like ripples in water. It was more than a ship. It was a presence, something that made even the stars seem smaller. Weeks had passed since its first message, and across the galaxy the shock had turned into fear. No empire dared to attack again. But fear has its own power. In hidden corners of the galaxy, whispers began to rise, of alliances, secret plans, weapons being built in panic. Old enemies were suddenly friends, all united by one goal: to stop humanity before it was too late. They believed humans were dangerous. They were right. But what they didn't understand was this: humanity had not built the Leviathan to rule. They had built it to survive. Deep within the ship, lights flickered in massive halls. The command deck was quiet, filled with calm voices and steady movements. Holograms floated in the air, maps of stars, fleet routes, energy readings. The captain stood at the center, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the glowing dots of alien fleets forming ahead. The sensor officer spoke softly. "Multiple war signatures detected, sir. They are moving to intercept." The captain nodded. "How many?" 17 fleets, sir. Over 2,000 ships, no emotion, no panic. Just numbers." The captain turned toward the forward viewport. Out there, the void shimmered faintly as thousands of alien ships formed a wall of light and metal. They waited like predators, certain of their strength. The captain's voice was calm. "Helm, slow to half speed. Bring primary systems online." In the heart of the Leviathan, something ancient and powerful began to wake. Massive reactors hummed with growing energy. Blue light spread through the walls like veins carrying fire. Armor plates shifted, locking into place. Hundreds of weapon systems unfolded silently, revealing the full shape of Earth's might. The ship was no longer hiding. The Leviathan had awakened. From the outside, alien sensors screamed warnings. Power levels were rising beyond measurable limits. Radiation flares burst across their screens. The alien admirals shouted commands, forming defensive lines. No one wanted to fire first. They remembered what had happened to the First Fleet, but fear and pride are close brothers, and one of them always breaks first. The Vakari Empire, proud and cruel, commanded the first shot. Their warships unleashed a storm of plasma and missiles, lighting up space in violent color. Thousands of weapons roared toward the Leviathan. The galaxy held its breath, and then nothing. The explosions vanished before touching the hull. Energy dissolved in mid-space, twisted into harmless light by invisible shields. It was as if the Leviathan refused to be harmed. On board the ship, the crew watched in silence. The captain's voice was calm. "Return fire." The Leviathan did not roar. It whispered. A beam of white light lanced out from its core, silent, focused, pure. It cut through space like a blade through fog. Where it passed, ships vanished. Not destroyed, erased. In seconds, half the enemy fleet was gone. The surviving ships turned and ran. Their captains screamed orders to retreat. But even as they fled, their systems failed one by one. Engines went dark. Weapons melted. Their communications filled with static. The Leviathan's secondary batteries opened fire, streams of blue plasma so precise they looked like art. Each shot found its target. Each target ceased to exist. The battle lasted only 3 minutes. And then silence. The stars returned. The wreckage was gone, vaporized, scattered as dust. The Leviathan floated quietly among the remains, untouched, unchallenged. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. 2,000 ships had vanished. One human ship remained. In the grand halls of alien empires, panic became dread. Admirals tore up their battle plans. Rulers called emergency councils. Religions were born overnight, some worshipping the humans as gods, others declaring them demons. And on Earth, humanity watched in silence. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They only whispered a truth that all of them understood. We warned them. Inside the Leviathan, the captain looked at his crew. There was no joy on their faces, only calm and a deep sadness. They knew what their ship could do. They knew what it meant. Humanity had built peace through fear, and now the galaxy understood that peace could have a terrible price. The captain turned toward his second officer. "Status?" "Shield stable, sir, no damage. Energy reserves at 98%. He nodded slowly. "Good, set course for neutral space. We will wait." As the Leviathan moved away from the battlefield, the wreckage shimmered faintly in the starlight. There was no sound, no fire, no victory music. Only the quiet hum of engines and the slow pulse of power beneath the ship's hull. Far away on a hidden world, the Galactic Council met again. Their leaders spoke in trembling voices. "We must make peace," one said. "They destroyed 2,000 ships," another cried. But the eldest among them shook his head. "No, they showed restraint. They could have destroyed all of us." That truth hung in the air like cold mist. For the first time in known history, the galaxy's fate rested not in the hands of its oldest empires, but in the hands of the youngest, the humans. And the humans had sent their message not through words, but through silence. In the weeks that followed, fleets were recalled. Borders closed. Entire worlds went dark, hiding behind shields and silence. No one dared to provoke the humans again. But the Leviathan did not vanish. It remained visible, a shadow in the starlight drifting slowly between systems. Always watching, always waiting, rumors spread. Some said it could destroy planets. Some said it carried an AI as powerful as a god. Others whispered that inside it slept something worse, something not human at all. But none of it was true. Inside that ship was only humanity, fragile, mortal, and determined to never be afraid again. The Leviathan continued its journey, leaving trails of faint blue light behind it. To the stars it looked like a ghost, a reminder of what happens when prey learns to fight back. And somewhere deep inside its core, a voice whispered softly, not out loud, not through speakers, but through the heart of the ship itself, awakened, watching, waiting. Because the Leviathan was not just a ship. It was a promise, a warning, and a beginning. The galaxy had seen the storm, but the storm had only just begun. The galaxy had gone quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy, breathless silence that comes after something too big to understand. 2,000 ships were gone. One human battleship still moved among the stars. Every empire, every council, every world was afraid to speak its name. The Leviathan. It had become more than a ship. It was a story, a warning, and a shadow that stretched across the stars. Every sensor in known space watched it. Every fleet kept its distance. And every leader, no matter how proud, feared it. In the grand chambers of the Galactic Council, the air was tense. Holographic flames burned softly on the floor, casting blue light on the faces of alien rulers. Their eyes glowed with worry. For the first time in living memory, the Council of Worlds was silent. The Speaker of the Council, High Chancellor Valor of the Threx Dominion, finally broke the silence. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled. 2,000 ships, gone in minutes. Entire fleets erased. And yet, they have not attacked again. Why? No one answered. The scientists from the Xylar Collective looked down. The admirals of the Krith Empire kept their eyes on the table. Even the warlike Drakon clans, known for laughing in battle, stayed quiet. Because deep inside, they all knew the truth. The humans could destroy them, but they chose not to. A scientist spoke at last, her voice soft. We detected no signs of emotional transmission. No joy, no rage, no pride. They didn't fight to win. They fought to warn. A murmur ran through the chamber. To warn? The Chancellor asked. Yes, they could have continued the assault. But they stopped. They destroyed only what threatened them. Nothing more. The Council froze. It was terrifying. The idea that such power could be held with such control. Power without greed. Strength without conquest. For the ancient races of the stars, that was something they could not understand. On distant worlds, leaders argued through the night. Should they prepare for war? Or should they bow to this new power? In secret meetings, alliances began to shift. Old enemies became uneasy partners. Spies whispered that the humans were already building more ships. Ships even larger than the Leviathan. But in truth, humanity was quiet. The Leviathan was the only one. And it was enough. Far away, in the quiet orbit of a red dwarf star, the Leviathan waited. Its engines were silent, its hull reflecting faint starlight. Inside, the crew watched endless data scroll across their screens, messages, signals, and the pulse of the galaxy around them. The captain stood near the viewing window, hands clasped behind his back. He watched as light from the distant council worlds flickered like dying candles. He knew what they were doing, arguing, panicking, fearing. He whispered to himself, "Fear is their language. We'll let them speak it." The Leviathan was not built to destroy. It was built to remind humanity had suffered enough. They had seen their colonies burned, their explorers captured, their people called lesser, so they had built a ship that no one could call weak again. The captain closed his eyes, hearing the hum of the reactors deep beneath the deck. That sound had become the heartbeat of humanity, steady, calm, and unbroken. In the council chamber, fear turned into arguments. The Draken warlord slammed his claws on the table. "We cannot sit and wait. The humans will strike again. They are testing us," the Valari representative hissed. "Testing you, perhaps. The rest of us are not so foolish." "Foolish? They destroyed 2,000 ships and left your worlds untouched." "That means something." Voices rose. Lights flickered. The sound of fear filled the great hall like thunder. Then a calm voice spoke from the shadows. It was the oldest member of the council, an ancient creature from the frozen world of Zell. His eyes glowed pale white, and his voice carried weight like gravity itself. "You all speak of strength and fear," he said, "but you forget the one thing that makes them dangerous." The others turned. "And what is that?" "They are united." The words hit the room like a blade. Every empire, every civilization in the council had known nothing but division. They fought each other for power, for resources, for pride. But the humans, the young race from the blue world, had done the impossible. They had become one, and unity, combined with power, is the deadliest force in the galaxy. The room fell silent again. Finally, the Chancellor spoke. "Then we must send someone. A voice, a messenger. If we cannot fight them, perhaps we can speak with them." The council murmured in agreement. It was a risk, but silence was worse, and so they chose a diplomat.
A being known for calm and reason, respected by all species.
Her name was Lyra, then of the Velen race, known for their honesty, their patience, and their lack of fear. She accepted the mission without hesitation. "I will go," she said simply. "I will speak to them. If they truly want peace, they will listen." Weeks later, the Leviathan detected a single ship approaching. Small, unarmed, moving slowly through the dark. The crew watched its path in silence. The captain stood at the center, eyes narrowed. "No weapons, no escorts," said the tactical officer. The captain nodded. "Let her come." The small ship drifted toward the Leviathan until it was close enough to be swallowed by its shadow. Compared to the massive human vessel, it looked like a speck of dust against a mountain. A single transmission was received. Soft, calm, steady. "This is Lyra, then, of the Galactic Council. I come to speak, not to fight." The message was simple. The captain listened. Then he replied, "Approach. You are welcome aboard." No one expected that answer, but the humans meant it. When Lyra then stepped aboard the Leviathan, she felt it immediately. The weight of it, the quiet power that filled every corridor. No noise, no chaos, only precision. The ship did not feel like a weapon. It felt like purpose. She was guided to the command bridge. There she met the captain, and calm, human, and tired. He spoke gently. "You came to speak?" She nodded. "Yes, the council fears you. They wish to understand what you want." The captain looked out at the stars before answering. "We want peace, but not the kind written in treaties. The kind built on respect. The kind that lasts." She tilted her head. "And if they refuse?" His answer was quiet, not a threat, not a boast. "Then the Leviathan will remind them," and she understood. The humans did not crave war. They simply refused to live in fear ever again. When Lyra then returned to the council, her report was brief. "They seek peace," she said, "but not surrender, not submission. Peace with dignity." The council listened, but fear still clouded their hearts, because deep down they knew the truth. The galaxy had changed forever. The humans had awoken something ancient in every race: respect and respect. Once lost for millennia, had finally returned, carried on the hull of a ship named Leviathan. The galaxy had tried to forget, but the name Leviathan would not fade. It echoed in every military hall, whispered in every council meeting, printed in every classified file. And far beyond those whispers, deep in the cold edges of the Orion Arm, the humans were building again. They did not boast. They did not send threats. They only worked, silent, patient, unstoppable. In a massive orbital dock above Titan, thousands of engineers floated among frames of dark metal. Each piece was smooth, seamless, and cold like deep space. They were not building another battleship. They were building something greater. Codenamed Project Atlas, it was the first of the Fleet Guardians. Ships meant not for war, but for protection. They would stand between Earth and the galaxy, silent walls against any threat. From afar, the Leviathan watched. Her captain knew what the others feared. The moment humanity finished building, the balance of power would end forever. Across the stars, the other empires grew restless. The council was uneasy. The HFY Dominion wanted answers. And deep in the shadows of the Draken hegemony, a plan took shape. "We cannot let them grow unchecked," hissed the Draken warlord Krax. If they finish that ship, no one will ever challenge them again. His generals hesitated. Attack the humans? Not directly, he snarled. We strike to test, to see if they bleed. One moonless night in Titan's orbit, 10 stealth cruisers slipped from hyperspace. They were black against the void, cloaked by distortion fields. Their mission: disable the shipyard, destroy Project Atlas, and escape before the humans could react. But the humans had changed. Every orbit, every rock, every beam of metal was watched, not by guards, but by AI sentinels, programs that never slept. The first cruiser was detected before it even reached the outer line. Onboard Leviathan, alarms whispered to life. The captain opened his eyes. Contact? 10 ships, Draken signatures moving in stealth pattern. He nodded once. Activate protocol Shadowfall. Within seconds, Leviathan systems shifted. Light dimmed. Engines roared softly to life. And in the silence of space, the ship moved. Unseen, unheard, but ready. The Drakon cruisers reached the shipyard. Their weapons powered up. Plasma torpedoes ready. But before the first missile could launch, the stars flickered. For a heartbeat, the void itself seemed to bend. Then came the sound, not through air but through comms and hull sensors, a low resonant pulse. Boom. Space rippled. And from the dark, Leviathan appeared. Its arrival was silent, but its presence was thunder. Every Drakon system froze as their targeting sensors overloaded. Krax's second-in-command shouted, "It's the human ship." "The Leviathan." Krax bared his teeth. "Fire everything." The cruisers unleashed a storm. Plasma, torpedoes, railfire. The void became a storm of light. Leviathan didn't move. Her shields flared blue, absorbing everything like rain on steel. And then, she answered, a single beam of white light cut across the darkness. It did not explode, it erased. One cruiser vanished, leaving nothing but ionized air. The Drakon fleet broke formation, scattering. But Leviathan was faster. Her weapons moved with precision, each shot ending another ship. Not one missile missed. Not 1 second wasted. Within minutes, all 10 cruisers were gone. The shipyard was untouched. Silence returned. Debris floated like dust. Inside Leviathan's bridge, no one cheered. The captain only stared at the empty radar. Status of the shipyard? Unaffected, sir. All systems stable. He nodded. Send a message to the council. The communications officer looked up. What should we say? The captain's eyes hardened. Tell them we passed the test. Hours later, the Galactic Council chamber was chaos again. The report from the Draken fleet was clear. Total loss. 10 ships gone. No survivors. The Drakon warlord's hologram burned with rage. They slaughtered my men. The Chancellor glared back. You sent them first. What did you expect? Proof. Krax shouted. Now you have it. They are unstoppable. The chamber fell silent, because deep inside every leader knew he was right. A Xylar scientist spoke softly. They didn't attack the Drakon homeworld. They didn't retaliate. They only defended, again. The ancient Zell Elder sighed. Then they are not conquerors. They are guardians. And the galaxy does not know how to face guardians. Days later, the Council received an open transmission from Earth. It was short and terrifyingly calm. The Leviathan and her crew will not strike first. But understand this, every human ship now carries her design. If war comes, the void itself will fight beside us, no threats, no demands, just truth. The message spread across the stars. To miners, to soldiers, to emperors. Everywhere it went, silence followed, because now the galaxy knew. The first Leviathan was only the beginning. In orbit over Titan, the captain stood again at the observation window. Below, engineers continued their work. Project Atlas gleamed silver in the dim light. He spoke quietly to his AI officer. Do you think they'll try again? The AI's voice was calm, almost human. They always do, Captain. Fear drives them, he nodded. Then we'll keep reminding them. He looked out at the stars, a faint smile on his lips. Not of our power, young, but of our restraint. The AI tilted its head. And if restraint fails? The captain's smile faded. Then humanity will do what it must, and the galaxy will remember why the stars went silent the first time. Weeks turned into months. No new attacks came. Trade resumed. The council pretended peace had returned. But every commander who looked at the sky knew better. Because somewhere out there, hidden among the constellations, a single black ship waited, watching, listening, the Leviathan. Not a weapon, not a monster, a message. That humanity, the young, reckless, fragile species, had learned the one thing the galaxy never did. Peace means nothing without the power to protect it. The stars looked peaceful again. Trade routes reopened. Fleets returned to their home systems. And yet, across every empire, silence still followed one name, Leviathan. It was no longer just a ship. It had become a symbol of fear, of balance, of something greater than war. Even the youngest children of alien worlds knew the story of the humans and their great shadow ship that made the stars tremble. But humanity did not stop. They continued to build, not more battleships, but something different, something for the future. On Earth, under the silver sky of a calm dawn, leaders gathered inside the Global Council Hall. There were no flags anymore. No nations, only one emblem, a single circle with a star at its center. The captain of the Leviathan stood before them, older now, his eyes tired but steady. Behind him, the symbol of his ship shone bright. "The galaxy watches us," he said softly.
They expect us to rule.
"They expect fear. But that is not who we are." A murmur moved through the hall. He continued, "The Leviathan showed them what we could do. But now we must show them who we choose to be." His words were met with silence, the heavy kind that comes before history changes. And so, humanity began a new project. Not for war, but for unity. They called it the Guardian Network, a fleet of silent sentinels built from the same design as the Leviathan, but disarmed. Ships that would patrol trade routes, protect colonies, and stop wars before they began. They were humanity's promise to the stars. Never again shall fear rule the void. Across the galaxy, alien worlds watched in disbelief. The Dracon, once enemies, were the first to speak. Their warlord Krax sent a message, not of threat but of apology. "We have seen your strength," his voice rumbled. "We understand now that fear is not control. We offer truce." One by one others followed. The Valari, the Xylar, even the proud Threx Dominion. It was not peace born of weakness. It was peace born of respect. In time they called it the Orion Accord, a treaty signed under the watching light of Earth's moon. The first time so many races had stood together without weapons drawn. Years passed. The ship that had once shaken the galaxy grew old. Her engines slowed. Her hull bore the marks of time and fire. But still she moved among the stars, not as a weapon but as a legend. The captain, now gray-haired, stood once more at the viewing deck. The stars ahead shimmered like a sea of light. Beside him, the ship's AI spoke softly. "Captain, the Council has approved your final order." He smiled faintly. "Then it's time." The Leviathan turned toward the edge of known space, toward the dark beyond the charts where no ship had ever gone. "Set course for the outer rim," he said. "No escorts, no transmission. We go alone." Engines ignited. The great ship began its final journey, not in war, but in peace. Decades later, traders in distant sectors still spoke of a shadow that passed quietly among the stars. A silent guardian that appeared when pirates attacked and vanished before help could arrive. Some said it was an automated drone. Others swore it was her, the Leviathan herself, still alive, still watching. No one ever saw it clearly. But every survivor spoke of the same thing, a dark silhouette, a blue glow beneath its hull, and a voice that said only, "You are safe now." Generations passed. Humanity spread to 1,000 worlds. The name Leviathan became myth. A story parents told their children about the day humans taught the galaxy to fear, and then to hope. And far away on an old planet once called Earth, a small museum stood beneath the night sky. Inside, a single piece of metal was displayed behind glass. Black, smooth, etched with a single word, Leviathan. Visitors came from every species. They stood in silence before it, some in awe, some in tears, because that piece of metal reminded them of what the galaxy almost became, a graveyard of war, and what it became instead, a place of peace. One quiet evening, a transmission reached the galactic archives. It came from beyond mapped space, Old, faint, but unmistakable. The system decoded it, and a human voice filled the hall. To whoever hears this, we have seen the edge of the universe. There are wonders here. And silence, tell them we kept watch. Then the signal faded. Scientists searched for the source for centuries. They never found it. But the stars where it came from were named the Leviathan Reach. Now every world keeps a day called the Day of First Light. A day when no ships fire weapons. A day when every starport goes quiet. A day when the galaxy remembers the ship that changed everything. Children draw pictures of a black ship with blue light. Teachers tell them, this is what humanity built, not to destroy, but to remind. And in the quiet of deep space where comets drift and starlight fades, some still believe that the Leviathan drifts among the stars, watching the world she once saved. A silent guardian in the endless dark.